Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. I ran a half marathon this last weekend. Actually, I didn't run it. I walked it. It's the second steepest in the continental US. Definitely, there were moments of mind over matter. It was literally 13.1 miles all uphill. And it was awesome. And it was at times not easy, but it was also phenomenal. And there was a lot about it that was beautiful. It's here in Southern Oregon in Ashland, which is just like breathtaking views and quiet. And pretty much everybody else ran it. And so I was the only hiker. And I was way, way in the back. No one else even in eyesight. There was 124 in the race. My son was way ahead. My husband was way ahead. And so I had, five and a half hours just to kind of be solo in the woods. And I thought about a lot of different things. At points, I was like, what if I bump into a bear? And what if I get stung by a bee and find out I'm allergic? All the moments of I'm in the middle of nowhere, don't know my way out, and I don't have cell phone reception and there's no one around. But, I was able to move through all that stuff. But one of the big things that I thought about that I think that's relevant in the context of this group is this idea of what motivates you. Is it when someone else sets your goal and the timing to get that goal done? Does that motivate you and propel you to continue to take steps? Or are you one of those individuals where you really like to set your own goals and your own pace? And because in this setting, they had a cutoff time. They're assuming most people are running. I think we had a total of 6 hours to finish it. And so it was literally down at Lithia Park at the base of Mount Ashland, of Ashland, all the way up to the top of Mount Ashland, like literally the second steepest climb in the continental US. The first steepest is Pikes Peak outside of Denver, Colorado. And so you get up to the lodge, just a little bit beyond the lodge, and that's 13.1 miles. And this race, they added an additional mile to make it to the very top. And that last mile is 1,000-foot gain if you choose to partake. And there was a big part of my journey where I was like, I feel frustrated that I have to make their time frame. I have to meet their definition of my goal. And I realize I'm one of those individuals. I will get it done. Like I will push myself and I know the pace to do it at without injury. So I'm not one of those talking body movement, but the analogy is relevant out in the working world and in our health journey. I'm not one to sprint, rest. I like to just keep slow and steady, keep taking steps every step of the way. So I had my pace and I was doing about a 20-minute mile. And I, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, with a 20-minute mile, I can fit that in. So I didn't take rests and it was steep, but there were moments where I felt really frustrated. There was like, I don't want to do they've decided that it's 14.1 miles and they've decided it has to be done in this amount of time. That for me does not motivate me. It actually makes me feel kind of unmotivated. And I was thinking, for you, are you one of those entrepreneurial individuals where you want to set your pace, you want to set your own goal, just give me what to do and I'm going to do it? Or are you one of those individuals where you go, no, I really am fed. I'm more likely to get this done. I'm more likely to cross the finish line, so to speak, and feel proud of myself if someone else tells me, here's the timing you do it in, here's when it needs to be done by, here's how we define finished. So I think it's just worth the process of self-exploration. I had a call today with a woman who's she says, it's not just about the studying the material for me. She says, more importantly, I want to study me in the material. I thought, yeah, that's so good. So good. She's going to add to the community for sure. And so even along this race or along your journey of consuming the modules and being here on this Q&A, are you studying yourself as you're consuming the material? Or are you simply consuming the material and doing what is asked of you and then going, oh, well, look, there, I've changed, right? I don't think one is bad or good or worse or better. And I love the idea of each and every one of you being here along this journey. Take advantage of the things that are available to you. Ask your questions for these Q&As. Ask them in advance. Ask them real time. Take advantage of the modules. But don't just study the material. Study yourself in the midst of the material. What do I feel triggered? Am I not even consuming the material? Am I paying for this thing? And, maybe you're not even watching this, which then it doesn't even matter what I'm saying, right? But to be able to, for those of you that are watching and you're taking this in, are you studying yourself in the process? Because how we do anything is how we do everything. And so allow yourself to change. Allow yourself to look in the mirror when you feel moments of feeling like you're butting up against comfort zones. There's that upper limiting showing up, right? I think it's just a fascinating thing to go, who am I in the midst of this? And who do I want to be in the midst of consuming this material? Cholesterol is the basis of all hormones. Okay, share screen. Okay, so which one do we want to share? Let's grab this one and see what that says. So you can see cholesterol goes to pregnenolone. Pregnenolone turns to progesterone, right? You see that? Which then goes down to testosterone and estradiol. Okay. It's also going to go down to DHEA. It also converts over to cortisol, right? So I'm hoping everybody's heard these words, right? You've heard cortisol, progesterone, testosterone. These are two different estrogens. So estradiol being the main estrogen of the fertility years, DHEA being that main adrenal hormone. Okay. But all of these come from cholesterol. So the reason I bring up that visual is to remind us that cholesterol is not all bad. Okay. If you have a really significant family history of stroke and hyperlipidemia and atherosclerosis and you have definitely elevated triglycerides and very elevated cholesterol, and you have high bad cholesterol, low good cholesterol, mixed with high inflammation in the body and high stress, now we have more concern. Okay. In this scenario, this doesn't necessarily concern me. Keep moving your body, keep doing high fiber foods, keep getting in quality fats, right? If at any point one of you are listening and you're like, I don't want to go on a statin yet, you could always start with red yeast rice. You could add in more high fiber foods like ground flax and oatmeal and psyllium husks. You can add in a quality omega supplement. My favorite is the Juice Plus Omega. You can also do a fish oil based omega if you want, as long as it's quality. I think Nordic Naturals is my favorite if you're going to take that route. The Juice Plus one is vegan, right? So there's a lot of different ways for us to address our cholesterol. And we definitely want to move our bodies and reduce inflammation, reduce stress overall. Okay. There was a Nobel Prize winner that proved that it's not just cholesterol, it's high cholesterol mixed with high stress. So one of the things I don't talk about very often, they're not necessarily seizures, but I had hormonal migraines that were pretty severe. I had a hormonal migraine when I was pregnant with Kaimana. So that was 11 years ago. I had another one when I was when I was postpartum with Tova. So that was in 2014. And I had one when I was pregnant with Sarah in 2017. And the way it looked for me was almost like seizures. I would lose my ability to speak. and I lost my ability to process. So if someone said, what's your address or what's your birthday or what's your name, I wouldn't be able to answer it. I saw a number of neurologists, brain scans, all the stuff. And what they were calling it was hormonal migraines. The ironic thing is I actually never had a headache and it's never happened again. So it was hormonally regulated. I say that as a kind of extreme example because absolutely hormones can influence a lot of things. And so if she says she's noticing them specifically with her cycle, have her start paying attention to what time in the cycle. Okay. Is it during her follicular phase? Right. So think of that as springtime. That's when estrogen is growing. Is it during her ovulatory time? That's when we have estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone at its peak. My guess is it's not during that time, but who knows? Is it during her quote unquote luteal phase, which is the PMS week? That's predominantly progesterone dominated. And sometimes women will have strange neurological stuff, migraines, headaches, hormonal regulated migraines without headaches. And it's due to the discrepancy between the estrogen and progesterone. So absolutely. And Krista, you're always welcome to introduce her to me. If she can track and start noticing where in the cycle is it happening, and then we can look at her hormones during that time and see what's going on there. I think that there's always beauty in doing that, obviously in collaboration with her neurologist, because we don't want to mess around with it. The other thing that I think of is B deficiencies and the MTHFR gene mutation. You know, there's so much more that we're going to learn about genetics and gene mutations, but the MTHFR gene is one of those that we can easily test for. And it definitely impacts how the body absorbs folic acid. And in some scenarios, it can present with really strange neurological stuff. So I would have her ask for a test to see if she has the MTHFR. It's MTHFR. I remember it: Monday, Thursday, Friday. M, Monday, TH, Thursday, Friday, FR. MTHFR gene mutation. And even if she just starts out adding in a methylated B complex, my favorite brand right now is the Quicksilver, the liquid one just under the tongue for a methylated B. Hopefully that helps. Mother has heart disease and father has diabetes for some context. Yeah. Aunt has had 2 strokes. And if aunt has had 2 strokes, curious, was she a heavy drinker? What was her cholesterol level? Were the strokes in the last few years? There's so many strokes associated with COVID and the COVID vaccine. I'm curious if they've been in that timing. When I hear stroke, I kind of hear it through a different lens. Triglycerides this time 152 on the high side. Last year was 146. So with triglycerides, that's more genetic and that's more related to alcohol intake. I think, Erica, in your scenario, what can we do to make sure you're getting regular body movement, getting lots of quality fiber in your body, keeping an anti-inflammatory diet, lots and lots of fruits, vegetables, and berries, adding in a quality omega, and practicing stress reduction. If I could choose anything for you, it's to wake up in the morning and do something that fills up your own cup rather than going right into work, making sure that you're fitting in the walks and fitting in the things that fill up your cup and allowing yourself to turn the brain off. Keep the phone out of the bedroom, keep the TV out of the bedroom, allow sensuality and sexuality and juiciness to kind of just experiment with what that might be so that the stress level, like the coil, gets to just loosen and unwind a little bit. I think that that's going to go a really long way with any significance around cholesterol. And if you're worrying about it, you're always welcome to also do some research and look up red yeast rice. Here's the deal. I think that someone, if they knew in every cell of their body, without a shadow of a doubt, that God intended for them to eat McDonald's every day, and it was the best thing for their longevity, maybe that could be valid for a person. I don't know any person on this planet that could, honestly, in every cell of their body, unconscious and conscious mind, know that. But the reason I bring up that example is when we worry about something or it's adding stress, we need to take that into consideration. Okay. So Erica, in your scenario, if you feel like there's any chance that you're perseverating on this topic or allowing stress to be added in because of it, then that's an important factor. Okay. So, if it were me, I would be, my mom has hyperlipidemia. My maternal grandfather had hyperlipidemia and a stroke and double bypass, triple bypass, quadruple bypass surgery, actually. My maternal grandmother has high cholesterol and she just had blood clots. And my father's side of the family has diabetes. But for me, what I know is that our genetics load our gun. Our lifestyle is what pulls the trigger. Okay. I have a very different lifestyle than they did. And I don't worry about it. Okay. In your scenario, if you're allowing yourself to worry about it, that does add stress and it is something to take into consideration. So I go in my scenario, I've taken Juice Plus, fruits, vegetables, berries, and omegas every day for 17 years. I do my best to keep in regular body movement. I have a sauna and I sweat at least 4 times a week. I'm not an alcohol drinker. I eat a lot of quality omegas, my nuts, my seeds, my sprouts, my quality oils. I have my CBD oil right here. I'm always consuming coconut oil and avocado oil and olive oil. And that has been my lifestyle for 20 years. I had my total cholesterol panel drawn at some point. I don't know, in the last 15 years. I could probably do it again. But my question is, if I choose to, this is really good. I want everybody to hear this. If you're going to, whatever it is, you're thinking about having a test done, they tell you need a pelvic ultrasound. It's time for your mammogram. It's time to have this blood test. The question is, what are we going to do with the information? And the acronym I use is BRAIN. B, what's the benefit? Okay. So when I taught childbirth education classes as a midwife, I would say to the women, you're planning for childbirth. Like someone's telling you need an epidural. Someone's telling you need an IV for antibiotics. Someone's telling you need to give the hepatitis B vaccine to your baby before you leave the hospital. Okay. What are the benefits? What are the benefits if I choose to do thing? What are the risks? What are the risks if I choose to take this action? Okay. I'm considering taking statins because my cholesterol is slightly elevated. What are the benefits? What are the risks? And often we have to go, okay, who am I asking this question to? Okay. If you're asking your mainstream provider, who, in my opinion, Western medicine is sick care, not well care. I was just interviewed by a woman in New Zealand and it was so fascinating. She was saying how in New Zealand, like the pharmaceutical industry hasn't penetrated yet. She's like, we don't have this like epidemic of people on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds and cholesterol meds, and where you go in and their profile has like a laundry list of drugs. Here in the US, when you go to see your mainstream provider, and same with Canada, it's often a laundry list of drugs. What's your symptom? What's your lab? What's your diagnosis? What's your drug? And so I go, if you're asking someone where that's what they've been taught, 1/3 of physicians graduate from med school having taken one nutrition class. I went to a 3-year program with one nutrition class, and yet every semester I had to take a pharmaceutical and pharmacology class. Okay, so who are you asking? If you're asking your mainstream provider and that's what they've been taught, it might also make sense to ask the benefits and the risks of other functional medicine providers. Ask me, ask someone else, look up Mark Hyman, look up Functional Medicine Institute. Okay, so benefit, risk. A is alternatives. What are my alternatives? If I don't choose to do this, what other options might I have? I stands for intuition. We save that for the end. N stands for either nothing or next steps. What if I choose nothing? What if I choose to just simply wait and decide later? Or if I say yes or I say no, what are the next steps? Here I am facing this choice. I'm going to hire this new ads management agency. What are the benefits? What are the risks? What are my alternatives? What are my next steps if I say yes or say no? What if I choose nothing and I wait? And then the last piece is what does my intuition say? Once I've collected all of the data, all of the intellectual stuff, Now I go and I get quiet and I listen to my internal knowing. And I say, what does my intuition say? Okay. So for those of you watching this and listening to this, we get to sift through using this brain acronym, no matter what it is that you're considering. You want to sell your house, quit your job, hire a new coach, get married, get a divorce, have a baby, go on a drug, allow someone to order some blood tests or an ultrasound or whatever it is. I think it's a nice acronym just to remember to utilize. Hopefully everybody's drinking your adaptogen elixirs. In mine today, I put it in the coffee press. So I ended up drinking this entire thing, and I'll refill it. Actually, I'll probably save this and put it in the fridge because I used Rasa today. I used the loose leaf, and I used their original blend, I think it was, and also the gold turmeric one. So I put that in there, and then I put some of the Anima Mundi happiness blend and put that in there, and then some Dandy blend to give it that kind of bittery coffee-esque flavor, and it's also good for my liver. And then I added collagen powder and hot water, a little bit of monk fruit for sweetener, a little bit of organic soy milk to make it kind of creamy, and then sipped on it throughout the day. It's been yummy, yummy. So hopefully everybody's doing your adaptogen elixirs, or you're getting your adaptogens in some way each and every day. Thank you for choosing yes for you and for your future and for everyone that you serve, because I know that they are served more greatly by you doing this work and prioritizing yourself and your health and your vibrancy and your well-being. And I will do the same. I'm feeling spectacular after my half marathon up a hill. I'm thinking, for those of you still watching, actually, if you're still watching this, I have an idea for a retreat. And I'd be curious if anybody wants to put in the chat if you'd be open to this. So what I was thinking is if we handpicked some that wanted to do this race with me next year, and we just walk it. We're not going to run it. I mean, some could run. I'm just going to walk it slow and steady, give myself 6 hours to finish it, which is totally doable. And then give ourselves a day of rest. And then I would host a women's retreat here in Ashland. So we would do the race together. We would have a day of rest together. I would cover everybody getting a massage and a nice hotel and a nice soak. And then the next day we would go out to Buckhorn Springs or maybe a different retreat center that I find here in Southern Oregon, and then do a women's retreat. So it would be probably like the 3rd week of June, 2024. Just curious if I were to do something like that. If there any of you that are watching, would you be game? And let me know. All right, you all are awesome.